one here is a very large environment, and you'll understand why when we get there. So again, just
All
click on
right.
that link. Should take you right
Let
there.
me get to the link, and it'll pull it up in the browser,
You bet.
and then I'll go into immersive mode. Yeah, this capability actually of being able to come in and out of the immersive environment and be back to the browser, get some information, jump right back in. Hear the little tone that I'm coming in the room, and I can join and make sure my wow, okay. Look at this. That's some big equipment.
It is, and again, Rick, if you can hear me, I assume you can.
Yep, loud and
I
clear.
believe we've got some spatial audio set up in this environment as well. So if we get separated, our voices might get a little bit distant from one another. But you'll see if you look towards the center of the room, you see a couple of helicopters there, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
see people call them different things, haul trucks, rock trucks. But if you walk up to that haul truck, you're going to see it's life size. So just follow me.
It's absolutely to scale. That is one big one big dump truck.
It is, and so one of the clients that we're working with right now is producing a trade show where you'll be able to bring in equipment like this. You know, even if you have a bricks and mortar show, Rick, and I've
Mm-hmm.
been a part of them in the past, you rent a booth. How many of these vehicles can you bring with you?
Mm-hmm.
One, maybe two, if you got a big enough booth and you want to spend that kind of money. You
Yeah,
know, you've
I
got what
couldn't
they call,
even imagine getting this thing to the show, right?
and this is one that's on wheels. There are companies that have equipment like this that you can't put on wheels. Well, in our environment, you don't need wheels. You don't need to transport anything anywhere. You just go into your design engineers. You go into
Mm-hmm.
their office and you say, guys, listen, you've designed all of this stuff on computer to begin with. Let's just grab those files, create the right file format,
Mm-hmm.
and bring them into this Utopia VR environment. And you can create a three-dimensional showroom for all of your equipment that is significantly different, and it can be interactive.
Mm-hmm.
You're wearing a headset. You've got the use of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a browser, if I'm somebody that's just popping in, a potential customer, I don't have a headset. I don't need a headset. I just need a web browser. I come in. You can walk up and you can actually touch and point out things on those tires. There might be something unique about the tread, right?
Yep.
So you can walk up and do that. Depends on the object itself.
Well, and this
And
this is where I think the utilization of VR really brings home the scale and the detail that you're trying to convey in something like a trade show with a piece of equipment like this. Because while you might be able to see it on a browser, obviously it's flat. It has no sense of how really big it is. Whereas I'm standing here and I realize, gee, I'm only standing at half the size of one of the tires, and so you really do get a sense of uh, how this thing fits in space. And to your other point, things like the details on the treads of the tire, the lights, the way you actually access or get up to the driving cabin. Wow, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You can get into the driving cabin from here. It's a very simple thing to do. With the headset, it's a little bit more of a challenge, but you can actually walk right up. And if,
Hmm.
if you're looking at me now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tap the G key on my keyboard,
Hmm.
and you're going to see me kind of fly up.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
so
yep.
I'm going right up to the cab now. So here I am. Now I am up at the cab, and the control room for this particular or the cabin for this particular truck, I can walk right inside. Now, once I'm inside, I can see all the controls. I can see, how the vehicle operates, anything that you would typically do there you go. You're up here with me
Yeah,
already.
I was able to use my joystick on my left controller and depress it, and I can kind of fly up.
So Rick, you can imagine if you're at a trade show, let's say it's Las Vegas. There's a massive show in Las Vegas every year, and you have one of these objects that your engineers have created on a computer,
Mm-hmm.
and you got a couple of headsets. So imagine, you got a customer walks up to your booth at these big trade shows, say, "Hey, come on in. Let me take you inside. Literally take you inside.
Mm-hmm.
One of our pieces of equipment. Let me, show you all the new toys. Let me show you all the upgrades and all of the new
Mm-hmm.
features that we built into these units." You can do that. You
Yeah,
can't do that on Zoom. You
yeah,
can't. Let's face it. You can't do that on Zoom.
yeah, yeah. I mean, extremely powerful. And to your point, again, you used to have to do big trade shows just to get this kind of experience, and you don't need to anymore. You can set up an environment like this that could be available 7 by 24 by 365 for people to come in and look and explore and meet with uh, engineers, sales representatives to have their questions answered.
Absolutely, and it's immersive. We hear the term obviously about immersive,
Mm-hmm.
and I do know, for example, that there are a limited number of headsets out there. Yes, more and more people are buying them day by day by day. But in the interim, there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of people who do not have a headset.
Right.
And one day they're going to be a little more affordable than they are now. One day they're going to be more ubiquitous than they are now. But the truth of the matter is, more and more people are out there that don't have them, and they can still have the same kind of experience right on their desktop computer or even their phone for
Even
that
their
matter.
phone.
It's a little challenge. We're going to be honest. One of fiercely unafraid of being imperfect on a mobile device. It's a little more of a challenge to
Mm-hmm.
get around an environment like this. But boy, if you're on a desktop or a laptop or a good tablet, the experience is it's cool. Let's just put that it's cool.
Well, but I'm glad to hear. I mean, you're paying attention to that mobile market, right? Because that's frankly how most of content gets consumed nowadays. I see my children, my grandchildren, even nowadays. They've got their phone in front of them all the time. That's how they consume information, and I foresee that there will be this desire or need, to your point, that hey, I can't look at this big truck on my, even my 10-inch, iPhone 13 Plus, with the big screen. I need to really see it up close and personal and understand the scale and the size and how these things work. And I can see that is where putting the headset on will become increasingly important.
Absolutely. And I think I was part of an international conference just recently where one of the major manufacturers in the space, and let's face it, you can count them all on one hand, right? Um, they were talking about it being another 5 to 10 years before headsets become ubiquitous across the planet. It's going to take that long
Mm-hmm.
because the technology has to come down. There's a thing that they call headset fatigue. There's a
Mm-hmm.
limit. The education space, for example, right now is struggling with how to get headsets into the hands of students and how to
Yep.
take care of them and so on and so forth. And one of the other things that they're struggling with is headset fatigue. There's a limit, and I believe the number is 45 minutes. I don't want to be quoted on that, but 45 minutes with a headset on, and you kind of reach the limit of what your head can handle from the weight of the
Mm-hmm.
existing headsets that are out there today.
Yeah, definitely. There's going to need to be a bridge to get us there. I mean, we're at that stage of the industry that's we're in the beginning of the PC era, right? Where PCs, I remember in the early '90s, only select executives had PCs and then laptops, and now you don't go into an office or an area typically where there's not an electronic device, be it a PC, a laptop, a tablet of some sort, that people are using to get their jobs done. And I think eventually, to your point, 5, 10 years, that other piece will be the headset that's sitting there kind of at the sides for somebody to throw on when they need it to do something specific, kind of like we are now.
imagine you're a young child, you're 9, 10, 11 years
Hmm.
old, and you're in a First Nations or an indigenous community in the far north of Canada, up in the Arctic, and you've got access to the internet, and all of a sudden, you're brought into an environment like this, and you see a helicopter on the floor, and
Hmm.
you're talking to someone who knows something about that helicopter, and it inspires you to either become a pilot or even a helicopter mechanic,
Hmm.
just because you not only had the opportunity to see it, but you could play around with it on your computer screen.
Hmm.
And let's face it, I mean, kids today, by the time they're 5, 6, 7 years old, they've got computer skills that
Oh my gosh,
could land a man on the moon in the 1960s.
it's true. And I think about that scene from The Matrix, right? When the character Trinity and they're on the rooftop and she like gets on her phone and says, "I need to know how to fly a helicopter," and it gets uploaded, right? And I think about what you're saying, and these folks who don't have access or may never even see a device like this helicopter sitting on the floor in front of us, but they'll be able to put a headset on and literally fly the helicopters with controls that are actual and true to an actual device. Um, and I do believe that we will be learning in this way again in 5 to 10 years.
Little doubt in my mind. I mean, that's a great example of what's going on. And, this is a VR environment, and it's not lost on us
Hmm.
that there's also an AR component.
Right,
And
right.
we're lucky to have a really talented team that have that particular skill set as well. So one of the things that we're working on, and we're not unique, by the way, we're not claiming that we have some sort of secret sauce, right? But we are also developing the AR components
Mm.
here in the back. In
Hmm.
fact, they're already functional. We just have to, make sure that we take it
Well,
one step at a time, and
that's just smart.
you know,
Well,
not rush stuff.